it up now?
No, because Emily said that she could get it done, but she wanted to judge it up more. I said, yeah, it's probably not worth it.
Because that used to be the front page website down at the bottom. That's why we looked at it.
You're talking about Wolfhouse. Oh no, so that is ready to be sold as of like tonight. It's vital animals. We got the countdown.
But that's an ebook. That's not it.
Okay, I'll just pull up Instagram. We're up here and listen to the beautiful screeches. Hi, Instagram! We only have 20 seconds left on Facebook Live. Shush! So you get to enjoy an extra 20 seconds of my dog being naughty in the background that Facebook is missing right now. They're hearing handbells. They've got
Breakfast with Spaniels music, you'll have to go over to Facebook.
Yeah.
Hi, Facebook.
Hi, Facebook.
YouTube. Where are we?
We should be YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram.
Yes.
Although, did the handbells get cut? Are we on?
They were doing the countdown.
They were during the countdown.
Okay,
We
we're
just
on.
couldn't, we just couldn't hear them.
Well, it was okay. Never mind. It's not important. I'm here.
We're here.
I'm doing it. I'm gonna make it to the end of the year. Okay, so hello everyone. Hello Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Instagram, just as warning, you are gonna miss out on some fancy things that are gonna fly across the screen. So if you go on YouTube or if you go on Facebook at Dr. Judy Morgan, you can see all the fancy zhuzhing that's gonna happen on the screen. But if
One
you
of these days we'll figure out how to do that across all platforms so
Well, no-
Instagram won't miss out.
It's Instagram that actually won't be a part of the party. So it's
it's
an
their fault?
Instagram thing, yeah.
Okay, it's
so-
not us, it's them.
So I know some of you are early cocktails. I wish. No, I'm still caffeinating at this point in the day. Are you?
I was told not to drink any more caffeine.
Well, you just went to the doctor. So if I went to the doctor, they'd probably tell me that I drink way too much caffeine as
You
well.
do.
I do.
I don't drink that much, and I was told not to drink as much as I drink. Stinks.
I feel I could probably fall asleep right now if I just laid down on this table. You guys could just watch me sleep instead of this live. Okay. I can't find the page that I wanted to look at
For what?
for the list of the gifts that we're going to go over. But we will, oh, there it is. We'll start actually, so it's not on the website yet. But when I was asking you about digital gifts and like things that we could do for online stuff, you mentioned Dr. Will Falconer, who is also, I guess he considers himself a holistic veterinarian.
Oh, absolutely.
Is he also a homeopath?
Yep.
So he offers this program that teaches you all about how to keep your dog healthy and deal with heartworms naturally. And so it's a program that you really enjoy and believe in, and he has lots of experience with this program. So we now have an affiliate link for his heartworm program that will be available as of tonight. So if you are subscribed to our email newsletter, it will be a part of the Friday 5, and you can get access to Dr. Will Falconer's awesome resources.
It was on our website a few years ago, and then when we switched platforms, it sort of got lost along the way. And then we had this little PayPal incident where I'm permanently banned from PayPal, so that was part of the problem as well. So. Gwen has us on PayPal now, but
one of my friends posted like they had like $10,000 of their business's transactions through PayPal, and I was like, you better watch out because they'll just take it.
Do not leave money in PayPal. They stole $4,000 and they refused to give it back.
PayPal don't play.
No, my son is banned permanently as well, and they only got a few $100s from him, but they kept $4,000 from me. So
$4,000, yeah.
Yeah, it stinks.
Donation to PayPal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, so I think we have enough people joining. We can talk about the rest of our offerings. So we figured out how to, mostly Emily, figured out how to gift courses. So I wanted to have you talk a little bit about our top 10, which all of them are amazing. These are just the top 10 most popular so far. And so we're just going to talk about each course, and you can gift them. So I'm going to paste the link to gift a course. There's a different link if you just want to see the whole selection of available courses, so I'll put that too. But that's the main purpose of today. And so if you don't like dogs, cats, horses, or natural pet care, then this segment is not for you. But if you do, then
if you don't
stay
like any
with
of those,
us.
you probably wouldn't be here.
That's true. You never know. Okay. Oh, wow. Somebody said, yeah, we're going to talk about dog longevity, number 1. Somebody said on Instagram that they tried out the Project Suds dish soap, which we sell at drjudymorgan.com, and then it worked really well on biofilm.
Yeah, so I took some home after we did our little warehouse tour. Remember I stole that one canister?
Yes, you did steal one.
And I started using it for washing my dog's platters. They're mine pet platters because I don't like using like detergent-y dish soapy stuff on their platters. So usually I just rinse them with really high pressure hot water. And so I took that home, and I have my little scrubby brush that I just kind of, get some of the soap on that, and with my warm water and scrub the platters. It is amazing. I think it's the apple cider vinegar just like dissolves the biofilm off of there, so it's very cool. So great for the water bowls and the food bowls, or platters that you don't want to use detergent chemically dish soaps. And I find a lot of the natural stuff, like the Meyers and some of the other things that we use for dishes, are not good degreasers. They just don't do a really good job, whereas the Project Suds dish soap, amazing.
Well, and a lot of that stuff has hidden ingredients that you don't realize it's actually not great. So.
Exactly. So
Anyway,
but this
Project
one
Suds dish soap. Okay,
Project
great.
Suds dish soap. Good plug for that. It is on the website, sort of accidentally. I don't even know if we ordered it, but we have it, and I love it.
That's why Miss Jenny is in charge, because she stays
She
on
knows
top
a good
of
thing
all
when
the,
she sees
all
it.
the new things that we are gonna want and need. Okay, awesome. So that's completely unrelated, but apparently the dish soap is wonderful. So that's great.
It totally is.
Okay, so we are going to talk about dog longevity first, which is actually your course. We call it a mini course because it's a little over an hour. And it's the top 6 ways to help your dog live longer.
Yep. And this, if you were getting a new puppy, or you have a family member or a friend who's getting a new puppy, this would be an amazing gift for them because they can get started on the right foot. But the course is literally for anyone who has a dog, because even if your dog is 12 years old, there are things that you can learn in this course to help your dog live longer. Remember, Hugh and I have been rescuing senior dogs for the whole time we've been together, which I was thinking about the other day. It's like 15 and a half years.
We've been in a time warp, I swear.
It is a time warp. I don't know where that went. But so we have rescued so many seniors, and most of them have been puppy mill dogs. And when you so Charlie was an 8-year-old puppy mill dog who only had 5 rotten teeth in his head, and he had the worst arthritis I have ever seen on X-rays. I can't believe he was still walking, and we changed his entire way things were done with diet and vaccines and healthcare and everything that we did. No vaccines, by the way, not vaccines. But we changed everything about his life, and he lived to 19. So it's never too late to make those changes. Tom's dog, Millie, just became a raw feeder at age 12, and huge changes already. So the dog longevity course, 6 top ways to keep your dogs around longer, and really that's our goal. I wish my dogs, I keep saying George is going to live to be 27. He's only 14, so he's only halfway there.
So, yeah, I think dog longevity is really powerful, especially for your average pet parent, because it's from the perspective of a holistic veterinarian. So it explains...
Who also practiced a lot of traditional medicine.
Right. So it explains from her perspective not only the important things for the care of your dog, but also how you as the pet parent can take control of a lot of these things, even if your vet isn't necessarily a holistic vet. If your vet is pushing vaccines every year, this gives you the tools. There's a whole vaccine module that goes over what the different vaccines are, when they might be useful, vaccine titers, if you have a puppy versus an older immune compromised animal. So it's not just saying like these are the 6 things that you follow and your dog will live longer, but it also helps you work with your veterinarian, I think is especially helpful.
And it helps you to come from a position of power
Yes.
when you're negotiating with your veterinarian what you want, because you'll have knowledge. Knowledge is power. So really crucial for that.
Yeah, and I think that it's, like I said, it's good for any pet parent, but it's a little over an hour. So for
And it's
those-
broken down into the 6 modules. So if you
Yes.
only have 10 minutes, you watch one.
Yes, so you can move at your own pace and it's evergreen, so you get access to all the modules for all these courses. You get access to all the modules once you purchase them immediately, and you just log into Dr. Judy U, so you can move at your own pace. And yeah, for the longevity ones especially, they're broken out in shorter modules, about like 10 to 15 minutes a piece. So if you only have 10 or 15 minutes a day, you can get through a whole mini course in less than a week. Okay. So next, we're going to talk about cat longevity,
Yeah.
which is very similar, but you actually go into your top 7 ways to keep cats naturally healthy, because cats are not small dogs.
No.
There are some similarities in how we treat them, but there really are very
and so
particular things about
The
cats.
courses are different because
Yes, they're
cats
very different.
Cats are different and they live a different lifestyle. Most cats are indoor kitties, and so they live a different lifestyle. So we talk about
risk.
feeding and vaccines and what your kitty cat might need. That would be different. So again, if you have a friend or family member who they're getting a new kitten or they're adopting a cat, or if you have older cats, it doesn't matter. It's never too late to make changes.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I love about cat longevity is that there's helpful tidbits, like if you have an indoor-only marshmallow cat that has like 0 instincts left, like Edward, there's really helpful ways for me to analyze his risk level, which, I mean, now he goes outside, but before, when he was indoor only, his risk was literally 0. He never encountered another cat. He was indoor only, so the use of vaccines every year for things that he's not exposed to didn't make any sense. Versus, if you have feral cats or something around, that's a different story. So I think these longevity courses, the common theme is that it helps you analyze your own pet and their lifestyle and pick the things that make the most sense for you, not necessarily like a cookie cutter. You have to do these 6 specific things in order to, achieve greatness. So, and the 2 crazy cat ladies took cat longevity.
Yep.
It's
And they loved
it's
it.
on their website.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I should get like a testimonial from them actually. I don't know why I haven't done that.
Yeah, we did a live in the Cat Ladies in the Closet thing that they do.
Oh,
Yeah, it's in the back in the closet.
back in the closet. Is there
And you can just go find that and take what they said off of there, because they were like, "I love this course."
Okay, we'll do. We'll just steal it from their podcast. But yeah, they did. We had the 2 crazy cat ladies take cat longevity because they are, even though they're not medical professionals, they're very well experienced and versed in the world of all things cat. So getting their approval definitely was important to us.
Yep, very cool.
Okay, next up is horse longevity.
Now, this one is not made by me. This one is Dr. Joyce Harmon from Harmony Equine in Northern Virginia, and she actually has her master's degree in traditional Chinese veterinary medicine, which means she has taken like everything there is, every herbal course, every acupuncture course, Tuina, food therapy, and she has it for both small animals and large animals. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we actually consult with her for our horses when we're, kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place and going, I don't know what to do. She has helped us out with our horses. And so we asked her if she would put together horse longevity. And again, it's hour and a half.
It's a little over an hour.
And so when she made it, we had to look at it, to edit it and do that sort of thing. So I watched the entire thing, and I have been a horse person since I was 12 years old. And I have treated a lot of horses in my career. I've done acupuncture, chiropractic, training, riding, showing, tons of horse experience. I learned things in this course.
I learned a lot of stuff.
It is great. She's amazing. She's very brilliant. So horse longevity, if you have horses or have friends with horses, this would be a great, great, great gift.
Yes, this would make a wonderful gift if you know somebody that is a horse lover and maybe you both have dogs and so you kind of align on that front. It is similar, I would say, to how your dog longevity and cat longevity are laid out. It has 6 different modules, which is the top 6 ways. But for horses, it's obviously very different from what we have with our cats and dogs. There are some similarities. Horses actually typically get vaccinated twice a year.
Yeah. You think the once a year is bad for our dogs and cats that's recommended?
Twice a year?
Twice a year with like 17 different things. It's horrible.
Okay, so yeah, and we feed them grains that are sprayed with glyphosate and hay that's sprayed with glyphosate. We don't do
GMOs.
hay testing, so we have actually no idea what we're feeding our horses for about 50 to 75% of their diet. We don't do pasture tests. There are so many things that when I watched her course, Horse Longevity, I was like, how have I been a horse person my entire life and I didn't like think about these things? But you just kind of go with what the industry tells you until you have that wake up call.
I'm like such a food nerd with my dogs and my cats.
But for some reason with the
And
horses,
for my horses,
you're like,
I'm like, oh, let me just go to Tractor Supply and buy a bag of
this
GMO
Purina,
glyphosate
whatever,
stuff.
Yeah, you know, and it's very, very eye opening. So anyway, Horse Longevity by Dr. Joyce Harmon. Same thing's true as the other things that we said, where you can move at your own pace. You can gift it to somebody if you want. But even for us who are experienced horse people, it was very, very eye-opening and informative.
Yep.
So, great gift.
Yep.
Okay, next is homemade food for dogs. This is our first, right? This was our first ever course?
This is the first course we made. Came
We
out
were-
a year and a half ago.
Yeah, wow. Homemade food for dogs 101. The
So
old
it's been tweaked a couple of times. So if you bought this and you watched it when it first came out, you might want to go back and recheck because we changed up some of the recipes a little
we
bit.
updated some things.
Updated some things, and once you buy one of these, you have access for life. So if we make changes to them or we add anything to them, PDFs or whatever, then you still have access to that.
So homemade food for dogs is not a mini course. This is a pretty intense course. It's like 6 to 8 hours.
4 to 6 hours. 6 hours.
6? I think it's 6 hours.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm like 90% sure. But it's definitely longer and more intensive than the longevity courses, and it is more, I would say, like I don't know. It's something that you have to kind of like study. Like I had a notebook when I was going through homemade food for dogs because you have modules on all of the fat soluble vitamins, all of the water soluble vitamins, all of the minerals, proteins, fats, carbs and grains, feeding guidelines, creating balance. Like there's a lot of stuff in there, so that is more, you're probably not going to sit down and go through homemade food for dogs in 6 straight hours. It's probably one of those things that you're going to watch some modules, maybe make a few of the recipes because
Play with it a little bit.
It comes with new recipes. It also goes into base mixes and
Yeah, so I
toppers.
tried to make it so for somebody who wanted to go all out and cook from scratch or make food from scratch, so whether you want to cook it or feed it raw, you could do that. But also if you really just are starting out and you're like, oh, this is so overwhelming, then I talked about base mixes and what you could add into those base mixes to really like make them super healthy, and maybe a little more than just following the directions on the box.
And just like for people that are really interested in making their own dog food, maybe you don't trust the big stores, or you know that it's more cost effective when you can, go and
Right.
buy things in bulk, whatever it is. This is really great for all levels of canine feeders because it does start with the base mixes where
Right.
it's pretty much just like 3 or 4 ingredients and basically mix it all together.
Yeah.
All the way up to, how you balance diets
Yeah.
from.
And we also
nothing, so.
covered a lot of the different supplements that are available for balancing homemade meals. So to try to fill in any holes and that sort of thing. So
Yeah. So when we first, because this was the first course that we ever launched, so we actually launched it to supporters only first to get their feedback. And the Facebook supporters, I would say the vast majority of them are on a higher level of canine nutrition education. They've been with you for a while. They know a lot about dog nutrition. And so it was nice to get their feedback, because even from an experienced raw feeder or DIY type person, they said, this is really helpful to see what type of things I should be looking for in pet foods. If I want to do my own, what are the nutrients that I'm focusing on? So even if you're totally terrified to make your own food for dogs, this course will help you walk through the different options.
yeah, and it's not from a TCVM standpoint. This one is truly just traditional making food for dogs.
Yes, that's a good clarifying point. Okay, the next one, understanding lab values and Dr. Judy's lab work review. So we offer 2 different courses on understanding lab values, plus the option for you to do a review of their personal pet's lab work.
Right.
So basically, the Understanding Lab Values Simplified course is more for like your pet parent. It's just how, when they receive lab work
You
from
you
their
get
vet.
this sheet of paper with a bunch of numbers and a bunch of abbreviations. What's that mean?
Right. So it's not teaching you how to be the veterinarian. It's just basically how you can understand what they're saying,
Right.
and how that can help you ask more questions about how to take care of your pet. So that's why if you do ever want your personal pet's lab work reviewed by Dr. Judy, it's bundled with the Simplified Lab Values course, because you need that course to understand the review.
And how long is that course? That one's pretty
It's pretty short. I think it's
hour
I think
and a
it's a little over an hour. It's like a mini course
on labs.
time.
Yeah. So it's covering CBC, chemistry, thyroid function.
Yeah, endocrine testing,
so Cushing's, urinalysis. So that kind of stuff is basically telling you, like, HCT, what's that stand for? Well, it stands for hematocrit. What is a hematocrit? And then I go into that.
Yeah.
So that you know what all those abbreviations and meanings are.
Yeah, because otherwise she'll be like, oh, well, his hematocrit is elevated, and you're like, what? So anyway, that's why we bundled the 2 together. They are...
Yeah, and the lab work review, basically I record my thinking about the labs that you send in.
Yep, and so hopefully by watching the review using your personal pet's lab work, it helps you kind of take the general learning from the simplified course and how she applied it to your pet, and so hopefully you can take that information and help your pet
Right.
with
And
work
then,
with your veterinarian.
like, sometimes I look at it and I go, okay, I would recommend rechecking this in X amount of time, or, you know what, we don't have a complete answer here. This is further testing that I would recommend that you get done. I did one.
How, so, I mean,
I did
what
one
are-
last week that I'm pretty sure that dog had, like, a really bad bone marrow cancer, and I hope they already knew that before I said it.
Oh, jeez. What is like a good benchmark for people to do lab work with their pets?
I recommend at least once a year. So
For any age, like
any
if I have a
age.
1-year-old.
I still recommend. It's amazing because we would do that in our practice. At the annual exam, we would always recommend some sort of screening lab work. So it might be not as expanded, not as big a panel in a younger pet as it might be in an older pet. And in the older pets, we wanted at least twice a year. Animals on chronic medication, we would do every 3 months, which sounds like a lot, but if I have a pet, for instance, on a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory chronically, I want my lab work every 3 months, because if the kidneys are starting to be mad about it, if the liver's starting to be mad
Yeah.
about it, I want to know now. I don't want to know a year from now.
Or when there's permanent damage
Right.
done.
And it was amazing. sometimes we would do lab work on a 1 year. I remember we had a 1-year-old dog that we did just routine lab work on, and the dog's kidney values were through the roof. The dog's running around acting perfectly fine. The people were so angry with us. They're like, "What do you mean my dog's in kidney failure? My dog's perfectly fine." Like they were just so mad that we had found a problem. I'm like, isn't this better to know? It's like we can be proactive.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Sometimes you can have an animal standing in front of you who seems perfectly healthy, and then you look at their lab work and go, "Oh, we have to address some things." So I do recommend it.
Well, and so we say lab work, but that can mean a ton of different things. So would you say that typically you'll recommend like a complete blood count, a urinalysis, and a fecal every year?
And a chem screen.
And a chemistry.
But it could be
screen.
maybe an abbreviated chem screen. And then in the older animals, we'll definitely throw in some endocrine testing, like the thyroid, for sure.
Okay.
So, and then, depending on where you live, heartworm testing, tick-borne panels, that sort of thing.
So yeah, so in theory, if you have a dog and you get yearly lab work until they're, 12, that's 12 times that they've used your information if they have a perfectly healthy animal. And imagine anytime they get sick and they get a CBC or urinalysis. So this is something that will pay itself back over the lifetime of your pet.
Yeah.
You actually know what the heck your doctor's talking about that you just paid $500 for.
Well, and it's amazing how many times the doctor or the technician will go over lab work with a pet owner and say that there were 1 or 2 things that were out of range that they mention. And then when you get a copy of the lab work, you're like, well, what about these other 6 things? We didn't even talk about those. Are they important? Are they not important? And, sometimes it takes you 6 phone calls to get answers.
Unfortunately.
So that's why it's helpful.
So the more expanded version of this, which is, actually there's a very relevant question. 7-year-old Chinese crested going in for my annual, what lab should she have?
CBC, chemistry screen, urinalysis. 7, I'd probably out on the thyroid.
Do you do a fecal?
Fecal, yeah, that's
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah, and I will say especially, I've had it happen to me with dogs, but with cats especially, if you do a yearly urinalysis, that is a great way to catch any type of urinary issue, whether that's crystals, stones, UTIs, because cats, especially if they keep going in the litter box, it's extremely hard to notice when they have urinary issues. So until it's like a really big issue. So especially for cats, I think yearly lab work is really important, and it's something that cat parents don't do enough of because
Do you know which
we
month?
don't want to take them.
Which month is the highest for blocked cats and diagnosing dogs with stones?
Is it December? When?
February.
Interesting.
So it's interesting because that's the time of the water element. Little TCVM here. But the dogs get diagnosed with UTIs and bladder stones in February because they pee in the snow and it's red.
Oh, so people
People
can
notice.
see it.
But cats block more in the winter. It's a time of stagnation, so crystal formation, stone formation. So February is a big month for kitty cat blockages.
Okay, good to know. All right, so the next one is kind of piggyback off of the last one, but it's the full understanding and interpreting lab values course. So this is our biggest, baddest course that we have available so far.
This one is it's a technically this is veterinary medicine level. So I recommend this one strongly for veterinary technicians who need a better understanding or want to kind of up their game, really be able to intelligently, easily talk to clients, pet owners. It's good for veterinarians who need a refresher, but even for pet owners or pet store owners, people in pet business that you really want to be able to give that next level of information. So, instead of just talking about, okay, HCT means hematocrit, and that's a measure of the percentage of red blood cells when we spin down a tube of blood. It'll talk about what does a low one mean? What does a high one mean? If I have a low one, what other values would go along with that? What else would I be looking for? What further testing would I need to do? What could be the causes of that? And I probably have some of the things I go into treatment a little bit. But I go through that for every single value that's on those 4 pieces of paper that you get. So it's looking more at your ALT is high. What causes ALT to be high? Where does it come from? What causes it to be high? What causes it to be low? What would you do about that? What other values would you need to be looking at in order to make a diagnosis? So it's just goes a lot deeper.
Yeah. So I think something that people don't actually know about you is that you are really passionate about diagnostics. I feel like the title of holistic veterinarian, they just assume that you just like do surgery with acupuncture and like take nothing but arnica when you're in pain. But you are very passionate about diagnostics, and I always joke around that you're like the Dr. House of veterinarians, because behind the scenes, what it's actually like is people will email or comment or some random piece of information. And we got this email one time of this person that was really struggling and had been to, I think they said 9 or 10 different vets. They had a whole team of veterinarians and specialists at the specialty center, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with the pet or whatever. And I think she just sent like 1 or 2 sentences, and you just wrote back, "Did anybody check for a liver shunt?" And we didn't hear from this person for another week or 2. And she emailed us a few weeks later and said, "You're never going to believe this, but my freaking dog has a liver shunt."
Well, the in-between emails with that, she went to her veterinarian and said, "I need my dog worked up for a liver shunt."
Yes.
The veterinarian refused.
Yeah, she went to her veterinarian and said,
They
"Hey, I
refused.
want to, whatever, the ultrasound to see if my dog has a liver shunt."
They refused. So she finally talked them into it. She said, "Look, I'm paying for it. I want it done." We had another one in California where the dog had been to a bunch of specialists. It wasn't eating. Been to a bunch of specialists. They'd done all kinds of diagnostics, had no answers. And when she sent me the email, I said, "Anybody look in this dog's throat for cancer in the throat?"
Yeah, you're like, "Did anybody look for a salivary tumor?" Like, what?
Yeah. And actually,
Literally 10 different veterinarians, and
it
nobody.
had
nobody.
squamous cell carcinoma in the tonsils.
Yeah, it had a tumor in its salivary gland, and she just read
No, it was in his tonsils.
or whatever tonsil. Okay, sorry.
That's a lymph tissue. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, I'm even messing up the story, but literally this happens all the time, where she will just see things. It's like a puzzle to her, and that's just how her brain works. And so
I like logic puzzles.
Yes. So I highly recommend, I wish every veterinarian would take the Understanding and Interpreting Lab Values course, because it goes over basically how you think about problem solving is looking at the entire picture.
Right.
And for some reason that's not being taught anymore. I'm not sure why.
Well, everybody wants to glom onto like, oh, my dog's BUN is high. He's in kidney failure.
Right.
It's like, no, he's not, because his creatinine's normal. He's concentrating his urine. So his BUN is high because he's bleeding into his bowel. Has anybody looked at bleeding into the bowel? We had one from Michigan State University. The dog belonged to a veterinarian, and it was being worked up at Michigan State. And they kept saying the dog was in kidney failure because its BUN was high. And when I looked at the lab work, I said, this dog is not in kidney failure. And the way that they finally diagnosed it was they put an encapsulated camera in the dog,
And I had a bleed.
and they took pictures all the way along the bowel, and they found a cancer in the stomach.
Oh, yeah. So that's the thing where it's like, I feel like I've had frustrating experiences with veterinarians that I felt like they were just looking at like, oh, well, your cat has whatever, like blood in its urine. Okay, it automatically has a UTI. Here's Clavamox. And I'm like, there's a lot more to that picture than just blood in the urine. We should be looking at his blood work and
His
all the
kidney
other
function.
values.
And,
Yeah.
you know.
Do an ultrasound or x-ray, see if he has stones, all these different things. So, yeah, that's a long story for why Understanding and Interpreting Lab Values from Dr. Judy is incredibly amazing for the veterinary professional. Or we've had a few just really dedicated pet parents take it and enjoy it, but it is pretty technical, and you have to really be interested in the diagnostic side of things if you're a pet parent, I think.
Are you a pet parent nerd?
Yeah, if you're one of our nerdy pet parents, then maybe this is for you. It probably is.
Pick me, pick me.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna hold on to that course forever because I just don't trust any veterinarians. So I'm gonna be double checking every piece of lab work I get for sure. Okay.
Well, in their defense, they're pretty rushed.
I know. I love veterinarians, but we're working on our relationship. It's complicated. I'm in a relationship with veterinarians and it's complicated.
Well, me too.
I love them.
Me too, actually.
Okay. Next on our list is by our good pal Billy. Billy Hookman of Green Juju. He is the vice president of nutrition and communication. He is one of those super nerds.
He is a super nerd, super dog nerd.
Super dog nerd.
Nutrition nerd.
So he originally did a summit session for us. We host online summits usually once or twice a year. And he did a summit session on how you can ferment raw dairy at home for your cats, dogs, and yourself. And so it was just, we sold it for like $5 because it was just really simple ways that you could ferment at home. And I said, you know what, Billy, we actually have a lot of people that are interested in nutrition, specifically canine nutrition, and we have way more fermentation nerds than I originally anticipated. So I said, can you please take what is in your brain as far as what happens when we ferment things and why it's beneficial to our pets and how we can all do this at home, and put it into a mini course for us. So it's about an hour long-ish, and it's a presentation style, it's evergreen, you can go through at your own pace. But yeah, it is a great way that you can learn what you want to add to your own.
Consider the two crazy cat ladies. I consider myself a nerdy pet parent.
Okay, well, we'll send you guys the Understanding and Interpreting Lab Values course. You can have at it.
Yep.
That one, how many hours is that course? I don't even know.
6 or 8.
6 or 8. It's a lot.
It's a biggie.
You should get 3 college credits for taking it, I think. Maybe not, but whatever, at least 1. So back to incorporating fermentation into your dog's diet. Yeah, this is a really quick, simple ways to do it at home.
Billy's really good at explaining that stuff.
Yeah, and it's also, he goes into fermented broth because, yeah.
Because it's Billy.
Yeah, well, so bone broth doesn't actually ferment. That kind of started as a rumor because there's another company that was just selling fermented broth and tricking people into thinking that bone broth actually ferments, but it doesn't. They just add fermented stuff to a bone broth.
Oh, interesting.
But so Billy talks about that and he explains like what it actually is and how you can do a lot of these things at home. So this is good if you're one of those people that you love being in your kitchen and you like making different concoctions of things.
Kitchen experimentation.
For your dog, this is right up your alley.
What was it he tried to ferment? The animal biome capsules?
Oh, he made
the
poop cheese.
Poop cheese.
Yeah, so Billy does these experiments in his own home.
Highly not recommended.
And so he tried to ferment with the animal biome fecal transplant capsules, which are poop. So he did successfully ferment, I think, yogurt or something, but it was basically poop cheese, and it smelled just like poop.
Not a good idea.
My dog would have loved it.
Probably.
My dog would have absolutely eaten it, for sure.
Marlo won't eat anything, so yeah.
Yes. It would have been great for him.
George would have. He's a poop eater.
Yeah, there you go.
George would have thought
See,
that was awesome.
Billy threw it away. He didn't even let his dog give it a try. But I feel like he missed out on a delicacy.
Right.
Because George would absolutely love poop cheese.
Could be a new line. Maybe we
for all the dogs that love eating poop, it's healthy.
There you go.
All right. Well, Billy, I hope you watch this later and you come up with a new product. Okay. The next one is Introduction to Clicker Training. So this is by Clickstar Dog Training Academy, and we are not trainers. Our dogs are not trained.
My dogs are awful. Well, no, only the puppy's awful.
Yeah. So we outsourced training things to trainers. So this again it's exactly an hour long, and it goes into how you can start clicker training and the steps you take basically to developing new skills. So you can teach anything using positive reinforcement. Liv in the presentation actually shows a video of a pigeon being taught to like turn in a circle or something using positive reinforcement. They have all sorts of really cool examples of these different species of animals learning all sorts of behaviors using clicker training.
Cool.
So yeah, I probably need to take this course about 5 more times. I actually bought clickers. But with Mr. Hydrocephalus, I'm not sure that a clicker, I don't know
I'm
how
not sure it's going to work for him. So today, Forrest was at the warehouse, and Ryan came in from the back part of the warehouse with a rolly stand that made noise. Forrest was in the living room area of the warehouse, and Ryan came in from this side. Forrest heard the noise and decided that he was going to attack it, and he ran that way toward the windows, and he's barking out the windows. So one of his hydrocephalus problems is that he is directionally hearing challenged. So if you call him, he absolutely will run the opposite direction thinking he's coming to you. He cannot figure out which direction things come from. So today was just a beautiful, beautiful example of Forrest's directional challenge with hearing. He absolutely went the exact opposite. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is why, we don't let him get loose, because if we called him, he'd run away.
Just picture like you walk in the door and like people's dogs like run up to you and they jump on you. But you go to Dr. Judy's house and it's like 2 dogs run towards you. 1 dog runs the opposite direction, but
Looking
he
for you.
He thinks he's coming.
He thinks he's coming.
Poor Forrest. Oh, jeez.
He's challenged.
But yeah, clicker training would still be good for Forrest, even though
I don't
the
know,
auditory part.
We'll have to try it out.
Positive reinforcement, maybe not with a
clicker
clicker.
training became very, very popular in the horse training world.
Yeah.
Probably 20 years ago.
You can
Maybe
use
in 25.
you can literally use this with any species. And Liv, I actually found Liv because they clicker train their cats to do all these cool different behaviors, and they also teach you how to do practical things like nail trims, holding for the vet, getting
Yeah.
injections. They do a lot of
Blood
behavioral
draws, yeah.
type
Yeah, very
with veterinarians specifically. So even if introduction to clicker training isn't your jam necessarily, if you look up Click Start Dog Training Academy, there's lots of great resources for positive reinforcement training. Okay, second to last in our top 10, muscle testing by Pam Roussel.
Okay.
Instagram, you just missed it. Go to Facebook, Instagram, come on. Or YouTube. All right, so muscle testing. So this was actually from one of the summits that we did.
Was it the cat summit? Or was it just a
No,
summit?
I think it was the May summit. So if you already watched the muscle testing segment of that summit, don't buy this course. But for
'Cause
those
it's
of
the
you,
same thing.
yeah, but for those of you that missed it, this is actually one of our most popular mini courses. It's an hour, because you did this one with Pam.
Mm-hmm.
And Pam goes over the different ways that what muscle testing is, and the different ways that you can actually use it with yourself and your own pets. And she goes over 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah. You can muscle test for yourself. Does this food agree with me? Does this sweater make me look good?
Yeah.
Like anything.
Yeah.
You just have to ask yes and no questions, and then follow her instructions to figure out what the answer is.
Yeah. So
pretty
muscle testing, basically using I guess they consider it biofeedback, energy, things like that, to just pinpoint things that are helpful, like yes or no questions for this is in the context of your pet, but you can use it for anything. Mm-hmm. So a lot of Pam's clients use the muscle testing for trying to pick supplements or foods, things like that, to try with their pet and see what works, what doesn't work. So anyway, muscle testing on Dr. Judy U by Pam Roussel. That you're featured in it, but you're a participant.
I was a participant. I was doing what she told me to do.
You're the student. You were the student, and Pam is the teacher.
Cool. It is pretty cool. Jack Canfield uses muscle testing a lot in his presentations of the success principles.
Interesting. So Jack Canfield is the chicken soup for the soul guy.
Yep. And he teaches the success principles, which is his big thing, and trains.
What are his fans called? Are they called something?
No, but
Okay.
his big program is Train the Trainer. He's trying to train 1 million people to be trainers, to teach people the success principles. And
Interesting. Okay.
The man is just a brilliant, energetic wizard.
Judy's a big fan. Bruce Springsteen and Jack Canfield, if you're listening, you're Dr. Judy's idols.
Yeah, Bruce is falling down.
Oh.
But Jack's way up there.
Okay. We'll have to go through your list of celebrity crushes later. Okay. Last but certainly not least, the Nutrivore diet, and this as well was in the summit. So if you were a part of the summit, you don't need this. But if you weren't, this is a little bit of a different approach to canine nutrition than what you take. It's basically she breaks it down into 5 steps, so to speak.
I haven't watched this one yet.
You were part of it.
Oh, in the summit.
Yes.
Okay, but
yes.
I haven't watched it on the thing.
So it's an hour long, and so Hannah basically she started out in, I want to say, Papua New Guinea.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so she is originally from Papua New Guinea, I believe it is. And so they fed their dogs, they were island dogs, and so they fed their dogs primarily fresh, whole foods just because that's what was available. And then when her family moved to the US, they just, like everybody else, walked into the grocery store and picked a pretty bag of kibble off the shelf. And so she talks a little bit about how she started to realize that kibble was causing issues for her dogs. Specifically, some of the issues she talks about in the Nutrivore diet course are yeast and allergies. She has Boston Terriers, so I feel like yeast and allergies are pretty common with those breeds. And the Frenchies. But yeah, so she learned canine nutrition basically because she wanted to feed her dogs whole foods instead of kibble, and she shares how she learned what to do in her way of balancing. So basically she breaks it down into 5 steps, more or less.
Yeah, it's really simple.
It's a simpler approach, and it balances over time, which some people love, some people get very upset about. But we support that type of feeding.
Yes, absolutely.
So again, this is a 1-hour mini course, and it is on canine nutrition, and you can take it even if you feed kibble. You don't have to feed a specific diet. You can feed kibble, gently cooked, raw, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's more about like the nutrients that they require and how you can fill in the gaps. So it's a slightly different approach to nutrition than what we typically take, and it's very different from Homemade Food for Dogs, which is your nutrition course. But this is a shorter, I would say it's a more like an intro. This would be the precursor, and then Homemade Food for Dogs is like you really get into the nitty gritty of what nutrients they need and how to fulfill it. Okay, so if you would like to gift a course, I posted the link on Facebook. If you would like to see all of the courses, I'll post the other link on Facebook. And if you're on Instagram, if you go to the link in bio, you can see all of our available courses, and you can also gift a course. So those are the top 10, but we actually have more than that. I think we have 14 or 15.
Oh, I don't even know.
Well, so there's the 2 courses from Dr. Nick, which we love.
Oh, yeah.
Which we've had they were like, when we've had them almost as long as Homemade Food for Dogs, because he was like the first person.
It's
Raw
bones.
So Dr. Nick also has 2 courses on there you can gift or purchase directly for yourself. It's Raw Feeding the Basics. So it's an hour long. It's 10 subsections, I think, on raw feeding, and it's for like the beginner if you're scared of raw feeding. And Dr. Nick Thompson, he's out of the UK. He was the president of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. So he is very knowledgeable. He's also super fun to listen to.
He is fun.
I want him to just translate some materials into just his UK tone of voice.
UKism.
Because I'm like, it's easier to learn listening to this, I think. And then his second course is Bones and How to Feed Them. So it's geared for dogs, but I think there's helpful info in there for cats too, as far as feeding raw meaty bones. But it is for the person that wants to feed raw meaty bones as part of their diet or treat regimen, but you're scared and you don't know exactly how to do it or what bones to choose. This is the course for you, and it's only an hour. It's not super intensive. It just really helps you understand the risks and benefits of feeding bones.
What else do we have on there?
We have The Science of Feeding by Carol Smeja, and that goes into, so she was the co-founder, co-inventor of the Mind Pet Platter. And so it goes into her research as far as like why it was designed that way and how our cats and dogs actually eat, not what they're eating, but how they eat. So that's on there as well. What else am I missing? Oh, Dr. Ava Frick's hair mineral tissue analysis. So that's a 1-hour mini course as well, and that goes into the different test results and what they mean. And she's kind of with the hair testing. She's like how you are with the other lab work.
She's a hair testing nerd.
And we are getting.
She's brilliant.
I think we are going to be able to offer a discount for their testing coming up. I got to follow up on that. So yeah, maybe we'll circle back on that one. I think that's it.
We have more in the works. We've got some herbal stuff coming, some acupressure stuff coming.
Oh yeah, all those. There's a lot more coming. I'm the problem.
Gwen is way far behind. If you've emailed Gwen, you're buried in 500 emails.
Hey now.
The other day she was really proud she got down to 300.
It's only you and 325 of your closest friends.
Sitting in her inbox. So if you haven't heard back,
I'm so sorry. There are 18 courses. Wow, thank you for checking. So yeah, there are 18 courses available on the website. I apparently missed a whole bunch because there's other ones on there. But we just did our top 10 for the sake of being at almost an hour. Look at us.
it's getting dark. I gotta go feed horses.
I gotta go pick up my human kid. Katie said we have to be better about how we end these things, so we should probably start the ending now.
We should play bells.
Play bells.
Can you play the music again for?
But probably not with our audio though.
Well, we wouldn't hear it, but they will. They won't.
Well, okay, so it's just gonna be
Instagram
us.
will.
It's just gonna be us talking, and then all of a sudden they just hear bells, and then Instagram.
Well, that's how I start and finish when I do Facebook Live anyway.
It's just like the Oscars is like once the music starts, you're over.
You're done.
I don't know. Okay? So here, this is our last live before Christmas,
It is.
and Happy Hanukkah for anybody that's celebrating
Supporters
Hanukkah.
7:00 tonight, though.
Supporters
Facebook
at 7 p.m.
supporters,
tonight. So what is one thing that you can leave us with?
4.
Just it's the last live before Christmas. Just one profound thing you can leave us with.
One profound thing. Whatever it is you are doing to improve the lives of your pets is good. Just the fact that you're educating yourselves, learning more, wanting to improve, that's enough.
That was excellent. Wow. Katie, cut it. Cut it. That was perfect. And Instagram missed the whole thing. You don't even know what beautiful chemistry you just missed on Facebook, Instagram. Okay. Bye. Wow, that was so perfect.